Hi, I'm Jenna Boykin. Today I will be discussing the usability test I performed for the Android 10 website. I will go over what methodology I used, the results I got, what I believe the results show, and the changes I would make based on the data obtained. First, I would quickly like to show what the website looks like so anyone watching can understand what my questions and the results from those mean. Okay, so this is the website. You get on, it has visuals, and then you scroll down a little and it has these tabs. And you can click on whatever tab you'd like. So let's just click on dark theme. And it takes you straight to that. We also have dark theme. There's a button you can click on and off to show there's dark theme. As you can see, there's foldables, but all of these tabs are constantly open. So there's no like you click on it and it opens for you. It's just always open. And then if you keep scrolling down, you get all of these tabs. And if you want to know more about the camera, you click on this and it will show you all the features it has. Okay, so after viewing this website, I started planning my usability test so we could find out any adjustments that were needed on the website to enhance it. I chose 5 objective criteria to use to test my participants about the website for the Android 10. The first criteria I tested was gut reaction. The gut reaction test would show the first impression of the technical document by the people viewing it. Gut reaction was also important for my usability test because it showed if my technical document captured the person's eye aesthetically so that they were interested in looking more into the phone. The gut reaction test also showed if the people thought the information was easy to find or if it was overwhelming and made them turn away from the site. To test the users for their gut reaction, I first had the users briefly look over the site, and after they had gotten an idea of what the site looked like, I asked them 3 questions. The first question I asked was about what they liked and disliked at first look. The second question asked what was your initial feeling about the aesthetics on the website, and the third question asked was when first viewing the document, did the information look easily accessible or intimidating? Following this, I moved to my second criteria, pickup. Pickup shows if a person can easily learn the information on a technical document they have never viewed before. I wanted to test the pickup criteria because if the users cannot easily understand or learn the information, they will not gain interest for the phone the website is trying to promote. People buying phones have a lot of information they need to learn before choosing the right one, especially because of the price they will be paying for it. They need easily accessible information and information described in terms everyone will understand so they can decide if they would like to buy the phone or not. To test for the pickup criteria, I provided my users with 3 tasks in the form of scenarios. Prior to these tests, I timed myself completing these tasks. Then I timed the users as they completed each task. I would then later compare these times to see if it was relatively easy for them to pick up on how the site worked and the information presented. I then moved to test my navigation criteria. Navigation was used to show in what way the user looked at the technical document and if it made the information easier or harder to find. I believe this to be important in the usability testing of my technical document because if the user could not easily navigate to find the information, then it would show the document needed to be edited for easier accessibility. I tested for navigation by giving my participant 3 tasks in the form of scenarios to be completed, like I did for the pickup test. I then recorded the path the participant took to complete this scenario and the number of clicks it took them to get there. I compared these results to mine, which I had previously done before testing participants. This way, I could view who took the easiest path and how to highlight it so the users may obtain their information easier. The fourth criteria I tested was likability. Likability showed a measurement of how much the user liked the technical document. I tested for likability by asking my users to answer 2 questions. One was on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you like the site? 10 being the most and 1 being the least. I used this question to get a quantitative measurement, and I followed that with an explanatory question like, what did you like about the site? The last criteria I used for my testing was memorability. Memorability checked if the user remembered the information that was in the technical document after they were done viewing it. Memorability is an important criterion in this document because we want the customer to leave the document wanting the phone and for the phone to be memorable to them. To check for memorability, I gave them a short quiz 10 minutes after they looked at the document. Now I'm going to go through the results I received from each participant and talk about what each of these results showed. For the first gut reaction question, I got practically the same answers from all 3 users. The question asked what they liked and disliked. All the users commented on that they liked how the information was organized, easily accessible, the aesthetics, and the dark theme interaction. They disliked how much information was on the page, though. I then asked how they felt about the aesthetics on the page, and as they had previously answered, they found it pleasing to the eye. For my third question, I asked if the information looked easily accessible or intimidating. They all found the information to be easily accessible and pointed to how to just with one click of a topic, it brought you to the information needed. From our data, we can conclude that the users like the clicking feature and not being overloaded with information. If we were to combine each section into its own little box and not have the site have all the information open under it regardless, like I was showing, the user would be less bothered by the amount of information on the page. This way, if the user wants to read that information, then they can click on the box to view it, and if not, then it is already on the page, or it's not already on the page, annoying them. So these are the results for my first pickup task. The next set of criteria. The x-axis represents the time in seconds taken to complete the task. The y-axis shows the users of the technical document who did this task. I did include myself in the timing for these tasks because I wanted to get a comparison of the time it took for someone who didn't know the site to complete this task and the time it took for someone who was familiar with it. As you can see, the times were relatively quick, but there was an outlier in the data. The users were asked to find on the site where you could see if the Android 10 supported the file format HEIC. This outlier took an exceedingly long time to find the answer because it was at the bottom of the page. Instead of looking at headings to see which category that information would fit best under, she read through every single category until she got to camera. If we condensed all the information into the certain tabs, then she would not have been distracted by all the information and could have easily found the camera tab. This is the graph for the second pickup task. It was set up the same way as the first graph, but the task this time was to find where on the site it talks about how the Android 10 makes and types out recommended responses for you. Again, there was one major outlier, but the other times were extremely quick. The outlier for this section was 15 years old and was basing finding the information from the pictures presented so he could avoid reading. To appeal to our younger users of the site, we should change the picture represented for Smart Reply to a more obvious picture of messaging because the younger viewers could not see that from the picture we currently have. Lastly, we have graph 3 set up the same way. The task on this one was to find on the site where it specifically talks about all the new things added to the Android 10. Now, as you can see, the times were much longer for this task. Though I do not believe I can truly gather information from this task, the users complained that the question was not clear and there was another correct answer for the task. I have concluded that I agree with the users and I will not be analyzing this in my usability test. Okay, I am now going to move into the results on my navigation task. This is the graph of the data for the first task performed. The x-axis shows the names of the users who participated. I again included myself in this to get another comparison on how someone who already knew the site navigated it. And the y-axis shows how many clicks it took them to reach the completion of the task. I also have recorded the exact path each person took in my notes. For the first task, it stated, you are a mother-father of a daughter who has just become a teen. All her friends have phones, but you are worried that once she gets one, she will always be on it. Find the section on the site that has a solution to your problem. Every user immediately went to the tab of Family Link besides Stephanie Boykin, who did first click on Digital Wellbeing. This test showed that navigation to what the user was looking for was relatively easy, and I do not suggest any changes based off of this test. Now shown is the data for my second navigation task. The graph is formatted the same as the first one. My second task was to find on the site a solution Android has for conserving the battery life on your phone. As you can see, the data was not as smooth as the first task. Stephanie and Justin Boykin took 5 clicks to complete their task. The path Justin took was performance, usability enhancements, digital well-being, privacy, and then dark theme, the correct answer. Stephanie Boykin's path was performance, usability enhancements, enterprise, privacy, and then dark theme. The paths taken by these two individuals are remarkably similar, with only one difference in their path. This data shows that it is not emphasized enough that the main goal of dark theme is to conserve battery, because the users did not go straight to the dark theme or even get close to doing so. I suggest adding in a box that pops up with a quote about how this conserves battery when you click to change to dark theme so the user can clearly tell that besides the aesthetics, dark theme's real function is battery conservation. This is the graph for the last task from my navigation criteria. Again, the graph is formatted the same as the previous two. The task was to find where on the site that it is explained how the Android 10 can help with your focus. I received the best results for this task. Every user was able to complete this task in one click, and I do not recommend any adjustments to the site from this data, seeing there was no error in performance. Following, I tested the likability, which showed to be consistent in the answers given. The graph of the usability test the users tested on has the users tested on the x-axis, and the rating they gave the site from 1 to 10 on the y-axis. Since 10 was the best, an average of 7.67 between the users was not bad for a rating, but it is not the 10 we want. The follow-up question asked exactly what they liked about the site. Users had similar answers, stating they liked the aesthetics and the easily accessible information. This data, although it tells us the website is thoroughly liked and what should be highlighted, I believe follow-up questions should still be asked to see what they did not like about the site and why. From this information, we could clearly find out what needs to be edited on the site for 100% satisfaction. Lastly, I tested for memorability. This test did not conclude with the results I wished to see. The x-axis shows which participant is which, and the y-axis shows how many questions out of the 9 that they got correct. With the person who got the most correct still getting more than half of the questions wrong, I was shown that the site was not very memorable and needed to be arranged to make it stand out more. During this section, I had also asked an open-ended question for the 10th question about what stuck out to the user the most. The answers I received was the focus mode, foldables, and the drop-down at the bottom stuck out the most. All these answers were different, but what they had in common is they were all interactive things. The focus mode had a decorative design. It had to be clicked on to access. The foldables showed a video of the car on a phone being folded up, and the drop-down menu had to be clicked on to access more things. Users become more interested when there were visuals to watch or interactive information. To obtain the attention of our viewers, I think we should add more interactions and visuals into the site. Sorry. The users do not want to be bombarded with loads of stuff to read, and the data shows that showing the users interactive visuals instead of this increases their likelihood of remembering it. I do think more testing should be done, though, to see what visuals and interactives are more engaging to the users. The purpose of these tests was to see how good of a technical document the Android 10 website was, and to figure out if any adjustments should be made to better the user's experience with the site. I've concluded that the 2 major adjustments that should be made are 1, keeping all the information condensed in tabs until clicked on to avoid an overload of information and difficult finding the wanted information. Then 2, adding more visuals, because in testing, users seem to find visuals engaging and helpful in finding information. More research does need to be done, as stated earlier, to see what visuals users would like to see and to see what exactly they did not like about the site after they had looked deeper into it. This would give us information on if users have a common ground on what they would like fixed. Overall, though, the Android 10 website is a pretty useful technical document that is aesthetically pleasing to viewers. This ends my discussion on this technical document.